Episode 2 of this season, we're actually kind of bringing things down a little bit, but also hopeful. We're going to talk about mental health and what's going on out there, and I'm going to share my personal story on Breaking Into next. Breaking Into.
I like it.
That's right, folks. It's my song. It's my theme song to my show that I recorded. And will be available sometime next month, I think. I'm going to be able to sing for single. Hi, welcome to Breaking Into. I'm your host, James Lodge Jr. here on Black Hollywood Live, and welcome to the show today. I'm so glad to be back with you guys. It's our second episode of the 4th season. We're chugging along there, and I am in good enough health to talk to you guys. I say that because we're going to talk about mental health today, and that's something that's very, 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 very important. And I have a returning guest that I just always feel safe with her and love having on the show, of course. She is Epiphany Talk Radio. I've been on her show, actually. We had a good time. We had a good talk there. She's a licensed clinical social worker and a therapist, and she is the founder of Epiphany Counseling here in Southern California. You're in San Pedro, right?
San Pedro.
Yeah, San Pedro. Mm-hmm. And she's been on this show several times. I've been on her show. She's done my podcast. It's my sister in arms, Miyume McKinley. Hi, Miyume.
Hi. Thank you for having me back.
Yes, he did cheering for you. Down, everybody, down. She'll be here for a little bit. Down. Yes, welcome. We are on BHL, which is Black Hollywood Live. We are on iTunes. We're on SoundCloud, and we're on YouTube. So you go to Breaking Into, which is on their front pages. You can go there and like, subscribe, share, comment, rate. Do all of that. Yes, I'm asking you a lot of you, but do it. It takes like 5 seconds. Do it. And you can follow our Facebook page, Breaking Into, which I also do more about our guests on the show and more topics about what's going on in Black Hollywood. So you can go there and look at that too. And of course, you can follow me at James Lodge Jr., where all they're sold, and follow her at Epiphany Talk.
Yes. Epiphany Talk Radio on Twitter and Epiphany_Miyume on Instagram.
And your show is on Tuesdays?
Tuesday nights
That's
now.
right.
So it was Saturdays. Now it's Tuesday nights from 8 p.m. to 9
Yeah.
p.m.
I know she had a nice little studio. We had a good time. It was fun.
We did. Organizing.
Yes, we started organizing. We did. Which, that's a big thing right now. Since we did that show, it's a big thing right now because that whole Marie Kondo thing and the tidying up. And this chick is on. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. I'm in like demand everywhere in my organizing life. That's another story. That's crazy. I wanted to, before we start, give a special shout out to Luke Perry, who passed away from complications from a stroke. He was 52. Many of you know him, of course, from 90210, but of course he was also on Riverdale, which was on CW. And I knew him because he had kids that went to the same school as one of my nieces in Culver City. And we actually, and he was a nice guy. He came to events, and he was at the graduation of my niece's graduation. He was a nice guy, just a really nice guy, so very sad. And also another guy from a group called Prodigy. We were from the 90s. He had a song called Smack That Bitch Up. That's one of their big hits. But Keith Flint passed away also, and he was 49 years old. So they're all around my age. It's kind of crazy.
Wow.
Crazy young.
Very young.
And he passed away also. So shout out to his family and friends and everybody that was there for them. It's just, it's, right now it's just people are, we got to live life and be grateful, I think, right?
Live it to the fullest.
Yeah, live it to the fullest every day, right? And we do, both of us do. I know we do. So I just want to open Miyume with another thing happened. Another guy who was 52 years old, who passed away a couple of weeks ago, was Kristoff St John. We're going to show actually his celebration was today, his homegoing, as some of us call that. It was today here in Los Angeles, and he passed away. He had some mental issues because his son had killed himself a few years ago.
Yeah.
His son Julian, and his son Julian was an artist and was diagnosed with some stuff, and there's us at the Emmys. We went to daytime Emmys last year, and he was just like the nicest. I mean, the nicest guy. My purple suit, that was like the big deal back then. And when he saw me on the red carpet, I was one of the people on the red carpet. He saw me and he goes, "Bring it back like Prince." He pointed at me, and I was like, "I'm right here. Yeah, I'm here. Purple is all in." And it's funny. I want to give a shout out to Fashion Forward in Culver City I call it Fox Hills Mall, but I know it's called Westfield in Culver City.
No, yeah.
I still call it Fox Hills Mall. And so he saw the suit, and it was like, so he's like, "Okay, I want to talk to you." And then that was backstage.
Wow.
And we talked for like 15 minutes. He held my hand all the time. We were talking, and he was just like, and I told him, I said, "Welcome back." And he was like, for some reason that really touched him. I said, "Welcome back," because it was good to see he had taken some time off, clearly.
Yeah.
And it was just nice to hear. And I want to ask you, isn't that nice? Some people need to hear that sometimes, don't they?
I think we take for granted how being kind, saying some kind words could really make someone's day. You never know what a person is going through in life. And so taking the time to talk, taking the time to make eye contact, taking the time to say, "You're important to me," those things make a big difference. Sometimes we get too busy to pay attention to the small things.
I always say I love you to my mother and my daughters when I got off the phone. Every time I may talk to my mom like 10 times that day, and I say I love you. Talk to you later. I just say it.
You have to.
You have to,
just
right?
never know. You just never know.
You
Life
don't.
is short. But yeah, definitely condolences to all the family members.
Yes, and he was a major part of Young and the Restless. He was a child actor who was on shows like That's My Mama and Bad News Bears and Happy Days.
Yeah.
He's been around for a long. He's also on a groundbreaking show called Generations. It was the first soap that was an interracial soap. It lasted only a couple of years.
Wow.
And it co-starred, who played his father, guest on the show, James Reynolds, who's been playing Abe Carver for 100 years on Days of Our Lives. Wow. They all kind of did this kind of show. It was black and white family. There were two major families, and they came together. And
wow.
But it didn't last that long. It was ahead of its time, I think. Now we have haves and have-nots.
Right, we have
now.
all, yeah.
But I think it was ahead of its time, and it didn't last, but it was groundbreaking. He was part of that, too. And I just want to talk about, I know grief, we were saying this before you came on, grief is a whole different animal. We might do a whole show on grief. That's something different.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, just in general, I mean, kind of tell us there. Grief is hard to get to work through over death.
Grief is hard to get through. And also I think people in pain who are grieving want it to be over with. I have clients ask me all the time, when is this going to end? I'm tired of feeling this way. You know, how long does this take? What do I have to do to get over it? And I don't think you ever get over losing someone that you care about. And people may make you feel that way. Another challenge is family. Family a year later is like, you're still crying over that, or they're in the better place, you know, you're still feeling sad about it. And so a lot of times people can feel a lot of shame, or they feel judged, right, by this. And then that's more judgment on yourself. Well, why haven't I gotten over it? And there's no such thing as getting over a loved one. Like, you learn to live life without that person physically here. That's it. There's no getting over someone you really, really love and care about, you know, dying and no longer being here. You just learn to live life.
I'm glad you said that. Because obviously I lost a brother 2 years ago, and I miss him every single day.
Yeah.
I just do. I mean, it's just, and it's little, and that's the thing you don't talk about. The initial blast, so to speak, you find out they're dead. That of course that hurts. That's tough. But it's like, it is the 2 years later. It's the 3 years later when it's just the everyday stuff. Like something happens, like, it was a little funny, little gossip stuff will happen. I'll go, oh my God, I got to call Matt. And like, oh, he's not there. I want to text, I can't. When Miyume's come back today, she came back today on her show after being gone. And I would have texted him about that. We would have a good little kiki over that.
Right. And that doesn't make people crazy. People feel like something's wrong with them. This person has been a part of your life for many, many years, or even if it is someone who, was really, really young, unfortunately. Those things, it's a total change in life. And then as you go through, you get married, you have kids yourself, you graduate, you have all these life milestones that happen, and you want that person there. So there's no such thing as just forgetting about them or getting over it. I have people who talk about, I don't know, I was doing good. I was doing fine. And then all of a sudden I broke down. I feel like I'm starting all over again. And it's like, that's not the case. I call them grief attacks. Sometimes me and my clients call them grief attacks, where maybe you have a few months where you're doing okay. You're not crying every night, or you're at peace with the thought that the person is longer here. And then all of a sudden you bust out crying, and, you're very emotional, and you're human. It's called, being human. I don't know if there is not a quick remedy to just, getting over someone. And you miss the person. You care about them. Please allow yourself to be human.
I like that. Grief attacks. That does happen. That does happen.
Yeah.
And you're right, because you start thinking, well, I mean, I should be done by now. Like, there's a level. It's like there's like a sell-by date or something, and there isn't really, is there?
There's no date. It may become, when you hear people say it gets easier over time, I even hesitate to use the word easier. I think you become more used to the person not being there. So you have routines that develop and get in place, and maybe you develop other ways of connecting, whether it be visiting them or talking to them or journaling. But I don't know if it actually gets easier. You just become more.
I don't say closure anymore. I don't get closure from people who are dead. I mean, I just think it's one of those things. It's just like, I don't need closure either, because I don't want to forget about them anyway. But I mean, one example for me. How many brothers and sisters do you have, James? It's a question you get asked all the time. Like, how many brothers and sisters do you have? You meet somebody, and I'm used to saying a certain number, and then I have 20. Okay, but then I was like, do I include him?
That would be a personal choice.
Right. But it
was something you actually had to think about. Right.
Some people would say, well, no, they're asking you how many brothers you have alive. I'm like, well, they didn't say that. They didn't say alive. They didn't say that word. And then it's like, well, like you said, with guilt and shame, well, can I still say he's still my brother? I mean, he's just not on the earth.
Yeah, he didn't stop being your brother. He's just no longer, here on this earth.
Right. That's what I thought. It's like saying, I mean, that's yeah. I'm like that, but grief. I'm glad you said grief is something that you should be allowed to feel all the emotions whenever they come up.
Because I think people on the outside don't recognize that it means different things for different people. So, for example, for the guy that you mentioned, to have a son commit suicide, that's a very different grief process than watching someone grow older and naturally grow older and get sick, or even if someone is diagnosed with an illness. Even if it's unexpected, sometimes there's some time to plan and kind of wrap your head around it. But when that person takes their own life, that's a totally different grief process. Especially as a parent, I can only imagine the thoughts that go through your head, the woulda, coulda, shoulda, what if, you're pondering. And so it's just definitely a difficult process. And then, for others, if the person was the breadwinner of the family, they took care of everything, you have to start life over if they were the go-to person in the family for advice. So it really shakes up the whole family dynamic and family system. So there's so many different aspects. Like you said, we could do a whole show on that.
We probably will one day. That's a whole other story. And so I want to give a just final shout out to Miyume St John, who is his ex-wife. She's a boxer. And so she's been, if you follow her on Twitter, she's been trying to get mental illness awareness out there in his name and in her son's name, and in Julian's name. So he leaves behind 2 young daughters and a fiance. So my heart goes out to all of them. Definitely. I have kids and grandkids. I couldn't even imagine just losing that. Especially when it comes to something like that. Just losing a period is couldn't even imagine. So, but it's okay, folks, and you can get help. Right, therapy is good. I mean, it can work.
Yes, healthy ways of coping. Ways of coping. I think people think therapy is when you're crazy. We hear all these negative stigmas. Television doesn't really help with that. Some television shows and movies, but it's an opportunity for healing. And I just posted something like that today. Therapy is an opportunity to heal from emotional wounds. Other than that, the emotional wounds really sit in the driver's seat of your life and dictate behaviors. They can negatively impact relationships, and everybody deserves a high quality of life. I mentioned that on the show the last time I was here. So please, you break your leg, you don't sit there and do nothing. You go to the hospital. If someone you love is sick or complaining of a stomach ache or heart problem, you rush them to the ER. But yet many of us are hurting every single night from a broken heart, from the loss of someone, or feeling depressed, feeling anxious, or not knowing what's going on, and yet we continue to suffer in silence, and it's just so unfair.
Great analogies, and it's true. It's very true. Hi to everybody who's watching live. I see people are watching live. Say something. Say hi. I know you guys are in there. So if you have a question or whatever, say something. So this show, I titled this show "Breaking into Mental Health Crisis." We are in a crisis, aren't we?
Yes.
We are. I mean, I feel it. I just feel like so many of my friends are taking their own lives, or they're stressed out and they're getting ailments. Like I got Bell's palsy, we'll talk about a little later. It's a crisis, isn't there?
It's a crisis. I think I'm happy to say that more awareness, I feel, is slowly coming around. You have people like Taraji, Kendra Lamar, people who are really speaking up, especially in communities of color, about mental illness. So hopefully, I think over time the stigma will slowly be broken.
Eradicated.
Hopefully, yes, definitely. However, we are in a crisis. So many people are hurting, and just with the internet and media, we're exposed to so much so fast. I mean, now something happens, 2,000 miles away, and you're flooded, your phone is flooded with this, and you get all of this negative information, but how are you processing it? When do you take time for yourself? And so I think a lot of people don't recognize that their mental health is just as important as your physical health, and any other health aspect is just as important in your job or school, but for some reason, because we can't see our brain, we forget it's an organ. So.
Soundbite right there. Love it. Love that right there. Soundbite right there.
Your brain is an organ too.
It
controls everything else. So why are we not taking the most care of it?
That's oh my God.
You take Tums for a stomach ache, but you won't go to therapy for feeling sad. It's really.
I just had an epiphany. See what I did there?
See, that's why I named it.
Exactly, I just did. I like that a lot. I do. It's so good. That's why I have you on my show. Because I want to talk about just people. We're talking about regular folks like us that don't have any kind of diagnosed problems or whatever, because there are people who have diagnosed issues and things like that. But I'm talking about people like us who go through some tough times and have a hard time. We get to deep places, dark places, and that's what I want to talk about today. It's like that's where I see the crisis happening, and some folks are not getting out of it.
Yes. Well, if you're not getting out of it, then that's where, we always talk about when do you know to ask for help? Like, how do I know if this is just me going through something really quickly?
Right.
And how do I know when I really need to seek help? One, I think it's any time to seek help, whether you're feeling bad for 2 days or 2 weeks. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You learn some life skills, you learn some healthy ways of coping. However, when you start to talk about weeks and weeks, then we're moving into what many would define as a diagnosis, which is the label. Yes, people get, so afraid of these things, but that's when you're moving into mental health issues or challenges. Yeah, definitely.
So I want to share my story. So I've talked about this a little bit on some of my shows. I've been documenting my journey, as you've been following me, and some of you do follow me online. I've been documenting journey. Yesterday it was 8 months I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy. And we're going to show a picture of me from the various stages of what I looked like. This is the physical part. I just want to kind of show people, people want to know, what is Bell's palsy? My crusade now is to talk about Bell's palsy. People are getting it all ages.
All ages.
You didn't get it?
All ages.
Okay, I'm going to send it. Luckily I have it on this phone. I can send it to you.
But it's so interesting because when I saw your picture on Instagram, I had a colleague of mine not too long ago be diagnosed with the same thing, just from stress, doing too many things at once, not really taking care of himself. I just posted about self-care.
Self-care,
it's so important. And that woke up one day with his face paralyzed, same thing, and never heard of it in his life, and totally gave him a different perspective. So health is wealth, and mental health is a part of that, and how you take care of yourself is a part of that. So it's really, 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 really important.
You said health is wealth. I like that. So is it shows that AfterBuzz, again, it should be sent? Yeah. And I didn't finish it. I was like, okay. Because I have it here. It didn't come through to you guys, I guess. Here you go. So it should be being sent to you. But we're going to tell my story so you can show it at any time. So actually, I didn't tell you this, Epiphany. Oh my God, let me see if I can get this out. So I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, and what that means is my cranial nerve behind my ear got inflamed, and it got swollen, but also it collapsed. My left side of my face was completely paralyzed. So that means my eye, my nose, this side of my mouth. It's really weird because it's not your whole face. It's just half your face. Wow. My neck. I went in, and so I went to the doctor right away. I woke up not feeling right. I couldn't say certain words. And my mom had Bell's palsy, a mild case, and she said, stick your tongue out. And I'm a former nurse too, and I remember your tongue was off. It was like I couldn't stick it out fully or whatever. It was kind of weird. So I went, go to a doctor. They tested me for a stroke, because this is something you should know. If you begin to have a stroke within the first 6-7 hours, you can sometimes reverse the effects or slow them down. So it's just good, again, go to a doctor, get it checked out. But for me, I went to the doctor, and they tested me for a couple of hours, and it turns out my face started to droop. And so they're like, oh, you have Bell's palsy. So they give you a cyclovir, they give you a prednisone, a steroid for a couple of weeks. You take that. That's all you can do. It's your face, the nerves in your face, they all collapse. But the nerves in your face do come back. Well, for most people. I did some research, but it's like a memory foam. I always think of memory foam mattress. Like it goes away, but then it doesn't, and it comes. I just sent it there. I don't know what happened. It should come to you. If not, then I'll post it online. You can show it, because I just sent it to that. I don't know what's going on. And so they told me, here's the number one lie we're gonna tell you folks. They're like, oh well, you'll be paralyzed for a couple of weeks, and then you'll be fine.
And then you'll be fine.
That's what I was told. And I was like, okay. They said, don't, stop everything. So I stopped. I actually had a show to do here. I had a show to do. I was going to, who I was going to interview? And she's coming on the show in a few months. Darcel, the dancer from Solid Gold. And she has a good story. She had a book out, and she has a good story. And and that day, I was supposed to have her on the show, and I had to cancel the show. Wow. Because I couldn't talk. Wow. I couldn't do anything. And it's really weird. So the first month, they tell you don't stress out.
Don't stress out.
Don't stress out, but you can't use my face. You can't sneeze, you can't cough, you can't spit. You can hardly eat. It's weird how so many things. Oh, there it is. So many things go away when half your face doesn't work. Also, a major thing is my eye wouldn't stop watering. And I had to get an eye patch. So we're going to show you a picture. There's me, my various stages of Bell's palsy. That's over a 4-month period. Looks like I'm a pirate. I always say the first couple looks like I'm a pirate, but I was swollen. My mouth went down, turned, and I couldn't really see out of that eye. I couldn't think clearly because it's a brain thing. I had an earache that just would not go away, and it was really tough. So that first month was hard. The second month got harder because I was realizing when I started doing more research and talking to other doctors, sometimes second opinion is good, that for some people, Bell's palsy is as unique to the individual. And by me stopping everything, because it's about stress, and what we're saying, stress is what kills most people anyway at this point. Is that
oh gosh, yes, stress. People don't realize the connection between stress and physical health, stress, physical health, and your mental health. They all work together. So did you know that not taking care of your mental health, there's research that shows that severe mental illness, if not cared for, can cut 10 to 20 years off of your life. And think about when you're stressed. Most people get migraines, they get upset stomach, they feel like their chest is hurting. Oh, you're raising my blood pressure, but we still don't make the connection between physical health, mental health, stress, all of these things, how they work together. But they are directly impact one another. And so, yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
And for me, because there's several ways to get Bell's palsy. One is Lyme disease. So you get a deer tick, you're somewhere, and I wasn't near one, but if you're near woods or whatever, you get a deer tick, check for that. That can help it happen. And then extreme stress. Sometimes pregnancy. A friend of mine got it because he was getting married, and he was stressed out before the wedding. And
gosh.
And still like 5 years later, his eyes still droop. I guess, and that's what I learned. Some people, they have. My mother had a fast recovery. They had a problem. There are others who are still going through it. It's like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years later, some form of it.
Wow.
So I'm just telling people out there, you don't want to get it because once you get it, and it's onset, there's no real big warning. The earache, they said, is possibly a warning because I had an earache that day before.
Yeah, but no one's going to think, I have an earache, I may be having a facial stroke.
No,
Most people aren't going to think that.
No, not at all.
So for you, when you found out and the doctor said, do nothing, I want to know what that was like for you.
You know how I am, and most of you guys know how I am.
That's why I want to know what that was like for you.
I think because, it's a very good question, I think because my face was going paralyzed, because the paralyzation happened over a 4-day period. So it started, and I helplessly watched it get more and more paralyzed. It was one of the scariest things in my entire life. And I think seeing that and feeling that, it wasn't hard at all to stop.
Okay.
I got scared
you
straight.
can physically see okay.
I got scared straight. And I was like, oh, okay, stop everything. So literally it was making phone call. Well, I couldn't talk on the phone. So doing text, email saying, I can't do this week. I can't do this next week. I'm not sure. I got Bell's palsy. You know what I did? Because I'm an organizer in my other life. I typed up a 1-paragraph sentence and just kept sharing it and changing names. And they said, we're going to just change everything later. So that first month, I was fine. I was like, okay, I get it. I'm trying to get better. My focus was getting better.
Right.
Eating the right foods, which is everything rich in vitamin B12 and B6, which also includes Eggos. Eggo waffles. They're enriched with vitamin B6. It's kind of crazy. I found all kind of stuff. Asparagus, all that kind of things. But anyway, I got scared straight. I think if it wasn't that severe,
you probably would have been pushing.
Would have stopped a few things and kept on going to a couple of things. You know, I do like 20 different things. So I was recording an album, stopped recording the album. I was writing a book, stopped writing. I stopped everything. And I literally laid down and said, rest actually is your best friend. With many illnesses it is, but this was particularly because I was overly stressed. So it's like, you need to clear your brain. And we talked about that on the show before about how ways to clear our brain, and it's kind of like you have to do it.
Self-care.
I was forced into it.
When you reflect now, are you able to identify when your cup was overflowing?
Yep. It wasn't work, because everything I'm doing in work I love so much that I lucked out. It was my personal life. I was feeling I had lost so many people in my life in the last couple of years. My godmother, my grandmother, my dog of 15 years, my brother, 3 of my best friends, all like within the last 2 years. So I lost like 8, 9 people I was close to, not just peripherally or just like acquaintances. They were people I was close to. So I wasn't, and even though I cried when each of them died, I didn't fully deal with it. I just kept going, and it kept piling on like another death. And so it's like I was piling on myself. I was doing it to myself. I was like, another death, and I got 6 deaths now, and I got 7 deaths. Like, and I don't have time to deal with this. And then just in personal life, just dealing with stuff, I could tell it was just literally.
Well, that and usually when we have a lot of that is outside of our control. So when we're losing people, it's not anything that we can really do about it. We usually subconsciously shift to focusing on what's in our control, and it's like, I can do this book, or I can write this song, or I can do this at work. And so it's a healthy.
Yes.
It can be healthy under balance,
yeah.
but good stress is still stress.
It's still stress. And I think so that was happening, and I think also because I was working a lot, I was enjoying myself. That added to that, and then I was heavily overweight. I didn't look bad. I didn't look sloppy or bad or anything, but I was 303 pounds. So I mean, that's just. And
you have physical health.
So my blood pressure was high, and my eyesight was bad. There were just things that were going on. I was starting to eat better before that. I went on a weight loss kind of journey, but I wasn't there yet. And I was sliding here and there. I mean, I was like, I'll have some fries today, some nacho fries. Screw that. And then I was sometimes nacho fries all week. But I mean, it's like once I got that, then it was like, ooh, okay. So that was coming as a culmination that came together, and I can tell you. That month before I got Bell's palsy, I was very stressed. I could tell. I just know I was stressed, just stressed in general. I could tell.
How could you tell?
Getting home and just being extra tired, just like super, like my brain was hurting a little bit. I didn't get headaches. I really got any headaches, but it was just like I was so exhausted from the day, and then coming home going, I have to make my own food right now, and I don't want to make my own food, and so I'm like, and then stressing out about that because I'm like, well, don't order something, but I'll take like an hour to get here, and screw Postmates, and whatever. It's like, so then
irritability.
Yes, that was happening with myself. I mean,
but a lot of people don't realize when they're getting stressed, you start forgetting things. And I don't know if this was the case. People start forgetting things. They start making simple mistakes at work or at home. You don't know where you put your keys. Maybe your boss or someone at work starts talking to you. Like, are you okay? Family is usually a telltale sign. They'll be like, is everything okay?
I was tripping a lot.
Like literally tripping?
I was tripping too. I was tripping.
I don't know.
I was
people telling you you're tripping, or were you like physically tripping? I'm just trying to clarify. I know we're on Black Hollywood Live, but I want to make sure.
I mean, there were cases I probably was tripping, but I was tripping. Yes, I was tripping. I was actually physically. I got big feet. I have size 14 shoes, so it's not that hard for me to trip. But I found myself not paying attention where I was walking. And I think that's kind of weird because I always pay attention to what I'm doing, but I would trip a little more often. Not good. So that's when I knew something was wrong. And so month 2 happens, and I'm still paralyzed. I'm trapped in my body, and I'm heading towards month 3 because I got better, starting better month 3. But I was heading towards. I didn't tell you this. I'm telling you this on camera. She has a lot of little videos she does and stuff that's kind of just inspirational and just like little talks, whatever. But one day I was feeling really, 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 really like done because my whole life revolves around my mouth. And it was really tough. I felt like I wanted to end my life. And I felt, and you can speak to this, of course, I felt like I was too smart to feel that way. And so I was getting more pressure on myself not to feel that way, but I was feeling that way because I couldn't express myself the way I wanted to. I couldn't write. I couldn't talk really fully. And I actually watched one of your videos. And it was something just really, like something about like just accepting that you have feelings, it's okay. Now, I always believe that there's no coincidences. That God sent me that direction, I was scrolling on Facebook, and your video basically saved my life.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Can I hug you?
Yes. Thank you. It did. It really did. It made me call my therapist.
I'm glad you did.
It did. I felt really like I was trapped in my body and I couldn't do anything.
I was going to say that has to be the most helpless. The feeling as I hear you talk, the feeling of helplessness is what comes up for me. Powerlessness, like what can you do? But kind of sitting, like you say, when your whole career revolves around your mouth and speaking, I can only imagine. But I think you bring up a good point, because everybody has feelings, and I would venture to say almost everyone has thought about not wanting to live at some point in their life, and it becomes even more difficult because you're judging yourself for having a feeling.
I was.
And that makes it even more challenging, because now not only do you feel bad, but now you're judging yourself for feeling bad, and then you're judging yourself and then it becomes this vicious cycle. There's no such thing as being too smart to feel a certain way. There's no such thing as being aware of your feelings is what's most important. And it sounds like you were aware of what was going on for you.
I'm glad you said that, because I had to tell myself, it doesn't smart's nothing to do. I mean, smart's dumb. Nothing has to do with anything.
That's a judgment. Feelings aren't right or wrong. They just are. It's what we do with those feelings that usually either bring us that's helpful or hurtful, right? So a person may feel suicidal. A person may feel like not continuing. That's your feeling. That isn't right or wrong. Now, how you carry that out, whether you call the therapist, whether you decide to drink, whether you do some self-medication, self-medicating, things of those things, that what determines what's more helpful for you and more hurtful for you. And I'm so glad that you decided to call your therapist, and I'm sure there are many people out there that are, because making, you never make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. And I can only imagine how paralyzing that must feel, right? You're paralyzing your face, but how paralyzing you must feel just physically and emotionally being in that state.
And I feel people out there who have gone through something like this or something similar, where you feel like you're trapped in your body. It's really hard because your brain is still going, almost like normal. But your body physically can't do something. And I had to wear an eye patch because I couldn't close my eye. And it's a weird thing when you can't close your eye. It's just weird.
Well, it's a grief. We were talking about grief and loss earlier, and when we talk about grief and loss, people only usually think about the loss of someone.
Oh, right.
But what you lost was your life as you knew it. And that is a very grief, that is a traumatic. So we talk about the 5 stages of grief. We talk about denial, like, is this happening? The bargaining. Oh, okay, Lord, I promise I'll take better. I want no more nacho fries.
right.
I promise I won't do this. Just let me get my health back. And then you get into maybe anger. Angry with yourself. Why didn't I stop? Why didn't I pay attention? I need more self-care. Depression, and then at some point you reach acceptance. But there was a loss. It was the loss of your job the way it was going at the time. Your independence to a certain degree. The ability to talk. You had a lot of loss in this one situation, just piled on top of each other. And you talk about that. So you lost 8 people physically, and then now you're losing, the opportunity that how you carried out your career. We knew you would eventually be able to talk, but your day-to-day life, that's a huge, and to be a go-getter and have to sit down.
I know.
To be a go-getter and have to sit down is one of the most challenging things.
It was, and I say this to people out there because I want people to know that, I'm a regular guy who never really thought of suicide before, and that kind of stuff before. And I've been through some traumatic things in my life. I'm also a victim of a violent rape. That was years ago. I've talked about it on the show before, and things. But this was different. This was something that was very much. I just felt like, what can I do? I'm like, there's no end game. When am I going to get better? So that felt really helpless, because I normally something happens to you, you take these steps, you'll feel better. Chances are, it may not be the same, but you'll feel better. This was like, you got this illness. It could be chronic for a while. We don't know how long it's going to be. And I'm still 8 months, and today I have problems with my I can't get it out. My nerves right now are acting up. And but that's just how it is.
And a lot of what you're describing is how some people who have severe mental illnesses feel. So I have them diagnosed with depression, and it's genetic, and it runs in my family. There is no end to it. What am I supposed to do? Or I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder, or grief. There's no end to that. So I think what you're describing, a lot of people will be able to relate to, in the sense that when there is no end, especially we're in a microwave society. You want to know how to fix things. And therapy in and of itself, when you're talking about healing from emotional wounds, that's a process. There is no A plus B is C. There are things to make it better. And it sounds like you were reaching that point in your journey, like I gave up the nacho fries.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And
I'm doing this, and it's still happening. But I would imagine that's a very scary place to be.
And I want to morph this into being a black man myself, a father, a grandfather. I'm a fixer. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I don't need any help. I can do it myself. I'm like, and that's something that we've talked about a little bit before, but I want to talk about a little bit now. Speaking of just other black men out there who don't get help mental. Like you said, we go to the doctor, you hurt your leg. But like for me, I had a therapist I was seeing before I kind of seeing, and then once this happened, now I see her every week. But she was like, we can Skype, we can FaceTime. I know you can't come to the office. Even if you can't really talk, I had a little whiteboard. She worked with me, and so and she was like, and therapists usually they'll work with you. As we know that. But talk about that, because most black men they're like, no therapy, no.
Therapy, no. Doctors, no. I think there's this huge distrust for the system in general. And when you talk about emotional health and going to therapy, from a young age, most men, you don't cry, don't show feeling, you need to be a big boy, oh, you're crying like a girl, you're weak, and all of these negative stigmas that cause them to not show emotion or not identify emotion. And then it comes out in different ways. It comes out in sexual promiscuity. It comes out in drinking. It comes out in having to keep several people around you in order for you to feel important. It comes out in obsessing with cars or whatnot, overworking yourself. We can go on and on forever. But the point is, this is what I tell people all the time. Therapy is an opportunity to have more control over how your feelings are expressed, because feelings don't disappear. Right, they're going to come out.
Oh yes, they don't disappear.
One way or another. So whether it's a healthy way or unhealthy way, whether you have some people who are obsessed with going to the gym. Going to the gym can be a coping skill, but when your life is around it and you don't feel good and it impacts your body, body image issues and all of that, that's a way of unhealthy coping. So I think what happens, especially in communities of color, black men are told all of their life, you need to be quiet, don't cry, you got to take care of the family, all of this, not recognizing that a key to being able to be successful at all of this is being able to at least identify. And we're not talking about sit around and be depressed all day and don't do anything. What we're talking about is taking time out to identify how you feel, process what's going on so that you can handle it in a healthy way. How can you be present with your kids and present with your wife and be a provider if you're not able to understand what's happening for yourself internally? How can you think straight? How can you make the best decisions? And so I'm hoping that the news of mental health gets out so that people can understand that this is no different. But then when you talk about the physical doctor, a lot of men, you hear people say, I don't want to know.
Right.
I don't want to know. If it's something bad, I don't want to know. I'd rather live my life happy and not know about it. But I can't tell you how many clients have came into my office because a family member did not go to the doctor soon enough and something could have gotten prevented. And you don't know, I promise you, it causes your family so much turmoil. And it's a totally different type of grief when it's like, well, if dad would have just went to the doctor, he could have been with us 6 years. Why didn't he do that for us? Or if uncle would have just went to the doctor, he could have been here longer. We could have caught it, but he didn't want to go, and I begged him to go. I told him, it's really hurtful for your family to find out, that news that, had they went in sooner, they could have had some type of treatment. And so something to really, really think about. We really need to break this whole stigma of, not caring for ourselves.
That's very true, and I'm glad you brought that up. The people because I have people I was about to put them on blast. Some male members of my family who probably need to go to a doctor, and they're just not. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to wait and see what happens. I can't they're grown folks. I can't force them to do anything.
Right.
But it's like,
I just encourage people who have that mindset to think of your family.
Yes.
It's a really hard process when someone passes away and they find out why they're forced to go to the doctor because they passed out or something. And now you're in the ER and, you're getting information on something that have been caught sooner. It could have been treated. And if you're feeling bad physically, I promise you it's affecting you mentally and emotionally. I
agree. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit, but it's on the same kind of token, and this could be I know a lot of women are going through this. Instagram, social media, especially Instagram, more so than Facebook and Twitter and whatever else is out there. How do people can cope? A lot of regular folks are losing their minds because they don't look like so-and-so, because they don't have the butt like so-and-so and the hair like so-and-so and or the lifestyle like so-and-so. And it's happening. I mean, regular folks, I know people who just who never before and would never even thought of are actually ending their lives or drinking themselves to death because or in the gym killing themselves to death to try to look like Kim or Chloe or whoever. Whoever the person or some Instagram model that's on there of some sort.
Comparison kills.
There you go.
That's all I can say is because when I have clients, I share with them, you're comparing your life to who? You're not pretty in comparison to who?
Right.
You're not rich enough in comparison to who? There's always someone different.
Right.
There's always someone who someone thinks is beautiful and someone else thinks they're all right. There's, so if we're comparing ourselves, especially when it gets to comparing lifestyles, Or, oh, you just seem you have it together. You know, you don't know my life, you know.
Right.
Secondly, you know, unless someone has walked in your shoes, you know, you might have overcome obstacles. And for you and your journey, you are amazing. You're exactly where you need to be. You don't know if Jenny's obstacles were the same. Maybe she hasn't reached her obstacles yet. But doing this comparison is just only makes you feel worse about yourself. This goes back, and that could be a whole other show for a different day.
Too, yeah.
Because the bottom line is people are filling voids with pictures and expectations when you need to really get a grasp on who you are, find out what makes you happy. You know, who are you without all of these things? And that once you have fulfilled that, then all of the rest is just extra, you know. But people create lives. They live vicariously through Instagram.
Well, I'm glad you said it. I would say people, I mean, you know, we put our best on there. And I purposely, since I've got Bell's palsy, I put things up there all the time that are not the best. I was like, no, I'm gonna sprinkle some stuff in there that's like some real stuff. I almost said it, but I didn't say it. Real S. So I put it on there because I say, and I mean, I get as many likes, but I don't care. I want it out there. I don't want to be negative online, but I also don't want to be super positive where it's fake.
Right.
And that's what people are doing. People, like you said, are creating you can be wherever you want to be online. Right.
Thank you. You can be whoever you want. Right. You can have the life you want.
Right.
You can be whatever location you want to be.
Exactly. I mean, my friends always say, my internet age is. I'm like, my age is my age. I'll be 50 years old in a few months. I don't hide ages and all that kind of stuff.
But if you think about how much energy you put into trying to put the best selfie or to create this life online, if you actually put that energy into investing in yourself or investing in your dream or investing into something that is going to benefit you, then I wonder how much, you know.
That has to be hurting in general, our mental health. All this social media. It has to be. I mean, we won't know, you know, major things until probably years later. But I'm sure in the therapy world, I mean, you guys have probably talked about it.
Definitely, self-esteem.
Yeah.
Just the whole addiction to your phone. I mean, look at your phone. Most phones have a setting where you can see how much screen time that you've been on your phone. It's you're wasting life. You don't get minutes back. So be mindful of those things, especially if you're it's different if you're on there for research. I mean, the internet is a wonderful thing. Social media is a wonderful thing. I was speaking to someone the other day and she was saying, I love Instagram because you can be scrolling and just get knowledge. But be mindful of who you're following. So for every makeup tutorial, for every model you're following, make sure you're putting some positive quotes. Are you following someone within your field of work? If you have a dream. I was telling one of my clients the other day, okay, you're following all these reality stars and all this stuff. You want to be in the entertainment industry. How many producers are you following?
See?
Right? How many producers are you following? While you're following Chris Brown fan page, you know, who was the director of his dance in the last video? Follow that person. So it's about keeping it balanced and being mindful of who you're comparing yourself to, because they have filters these days that will stretch you and give you a butt and all of that stuff. But they would make your face skinny. You can change the color. You can change your eye color.
You can.
It'll even put makeup on you. So it's like, okay, all of this for what? We're becoming a society that is focused on instant gratification and external stimuli, and we're forgetting about our internal being and wellness and our mental and emotional health.
I have a couple of people in my life who are around my age, and they are not on social media. And I'm like, they're probably the smartest people on earth. I'm like, you guys are smart. I'm like, you're not on social media? I mean, most of my stuff's work related, but whatever. Or I'm always promoting myself because I'm just a whore online about all my businesses and stuff.
Well, people, good.
But I'm saying, but people, they're not on at all. And they're
be
happy.
mindful of how you're feeling. If you spend 20 minutes scrolling through Instagram and you feel worse than you did when you got on, who are you following? And what's going on? And what do you think? Like, really think about that. Are you scrolling? Because, I mean, everybody's at a different place in life. I have people who, well, everybody went to college and I'm not there, and they seem like they're doing great at their job, and I'm just raising kids. Like, everybody's journey is different. Respect your journey. That is the slogan for my nonprofit. Respect your journey. It is so disrespectful to your journey to compare to somebody else when you've been through your own heartache, your own grief and loss, your own family traumas and conflict, and here you are disrespecting everything that you've been through because you're comparing it to somebody else's life and you have no idea what their journey was like. It's so disrespectful to your journey.
Don't do it. I like that, disrespectful to your journey. Don't do it. Now, this is something I do on every show, and she's been on the show before, but I'm going to see if she has different answers. I always ask my guests the same T questions. at the end. And I'm going to ask you these questions that you've answered before. But I mean, who knows? Maybe you have something different this time.
Interesting. Yeah, let's see if I get the same answer.
Okay, it'd be funny if it's the same answer. I feel like I can look. Okay, so of course, folks, we haven't done this. This is the first time the second time this season I've done this. I asked people, because I love language, and language is very important. I know you like language also. It's very important. So what word, and I've expanded it, what word or phrase should we not say anymore?
What word or phrase should we not say anymore?
Not say anymore.
I should have.
Oh, I like that. Okay, that's a good one. That's a new one. That's good.
I shoulda, woulda, coulda should be eradicated.
Yeah, you should never should coulda, woulda yourself.
It doesn't help. It just increases anxiety and depression.
That does, doesn't it? And then, what word or phrase should we say more of?
More of. The first thought that came to mind was "I can."
Okay, I like that.
I can.
It's very important. It's underrated, but it's very important.
Yeah. I can, and it's okay. Those are the two things that come to mind. I can, because we're so quick to tell ourselves what we can't do. And society you really have to practice purposefully being positive, because pay attention from time you leave here till you get home. How many signs do you see that tell you overweight, or you need to do this, or you need to do that? How many commercials come on? How many notices do you get on your phone about all the negative things happening in the world? So you need to be purposefully, I can, or I wonder, or what if I can, and then it's okay. I feel this way, and it's okay. I'm going through this, and it's okay. I'll things will change.
See, I like that. I totally like that. See, I know I'm safe with you, girl. I know I am. I know I am. And that's why I love having you on the show all the time.
Well,
I love working with you. And we're gonna do so. Now that I'm getting back in business, there's some things we were talking about before I went on my break.
On your self-care
journey.
Yes.
That I want to continue with you. We're going to work on. So just stay tuned. I'll keep you posted on stuff. Anything coming up? I know you have your show, of course, on Tuesday nights. You have some good guests coming up.
Yes, and I'm looking for guests as well. So spread the wealth, mental health. So if you yourself are a clinician or an advocate for mental health, I'm looking for guests to come on. In addition, if you're a guest and you want to share your journey or your story, please do. You can email me at epiphanytalkradio@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram at epiphany_Miyume, M-I-Y-U-M-E. I'm sure he has it somewhere.
Yeah.
And you can DM me, and we can go from there. In addition, I launched a nonprofit, which I have some wonderful interns. So the principle of the nonprofit is to break stigma associated with mental health.
I like that.
So we do lots of groups, we do lots of workshops, we do lots of psychoeducation to family members of those who are diagnosed with mental illnesses. If you a lot of times family don't understand, you're just sad, or you need to pray more, but we're actually educating family members so they can actually understand and know what to do to help, because it is a very helpless feeling to watch someone, diagnosed with schizophrenia, or watch someone suffer and you're not quite sure what to do. And different outreach events and things of that nature. So if you're interested, you can go to www.healingandhopefoundations.com.
And whatever I can do to help, I'm here.
.org. Healing and Hope Foundations with an S.org. And you can make a donation, and or if you want to volunteer your time, there's volunteer applications on the website as well.
I want to help out.
Yes.
Let me know. I'll do something for it with you, of course. I support that. And we'll post it also on the Facebook page, Breaking Into. I'll post all the links on there, too, so you can kind of go there. And thanks for affecting change in the world and in my life.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. Thank you for trusting me.
Thank you. Always. Not even a question at all. And so this show, of course, you can find us on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and YouTube. So you can listen to us or look at us, one of the two. But make sure wherever you are, wherever you find us, follow. I think some say follow, some say subscribe, some say like, whatever that is, press that button. Press it. Also rate, comment. Tell me what you I like the engagement. Tell me what's going on. If you want to talk to her more, or we have a question for her, send it to me. It's fine. I'll pass it on to her, and you can talk to her and do that. But when you're there, like it. And our Facebook page, like the page. Go ahead and like it. And you'll see all kinds of things that are going on. I have some great guests coming on this season already. And I'm leading to my 50th birthday show, which will be May 13th. And it's going to be, I'm going to have a big panel of guests who will probably be on the show with me there too. We're going to talk about age and celebrate me.
Yes. Can I ask you a question on your show before we end?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question for you, or something that I want you to say. So for anyone out there who is struggling with depression or a similar situation as you, what would you tell them if they're on the fence of getting help or reaching out to a therapist and they're not? What would you tell them?
Good question. Don't get off the fence. Get help. And here's my thing. you can pick out therapists that work best for you. You don't have to just get one and stick with that person. If you feel weird, don't like them, you don't mesh together, it's okay. Find another one. Like, don't give up. If you have to go through 4 or 5 therapists to find that one that best suits your needs and you feel the most comfortable with, that's my biggest advice. Do it, because I mean, people, same with doctors and everything. Just you can feel comfortable with a therapist. You're telling your personal business. You're telling your wants, your dreams, desires, secrets, fears, faults. You're talking about all that. Find someone you can really connect with, that you feel comfortable with. It's okay to do it, but get off the fence and jump into the yard of therapy. That's my answer. Jump to the yard of therapy. Get off that fence. Because for me, it literally between her and my therapist, have saved my life, and I see things in a clearer, more honest and realistic mode, but I also see things in a more hopeful mode than I did before. And I feel re-energized. I went away for 3 months, and I got back a month and a half ago, and that was good too.
And you mentioned that your life has changed. I'm just curious. You didn't. Well, maybe we could talk after. I don't know how much time we have. I was just curious as to like, how did your perception of life change after?
Well, so we'll talk after because
I want to know.
I'll tell you. It made me change everything. But I am James Lott Jr. And of course, the song you heard at the beginning of the show, you can find on my SoundCloud page right now, James Lott Jr. It will be released as a single, but this Thursday, I have a song coming out with a group called It's called I Will Make It Through, which is my first song I wrote after Bell's palsy. It's a dance song. I'm filming a video. Just be scared. But it'll be available on everywhere that music is sold. I mean, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon. It's going to be everywhere. Called I Will Make It Through, Chog and James Lott Jr. You can listen to it. And I have another song coming out next week called Kristen and Mary. 2 fans of mine. I made a fun song, and now it's become popular. So that's coming out on the 14th, where all music is sold also. But they're all my music, all my poetry, all my commercials, everything that I do is on my SoundCloud page, James Lott Jr. And you can follow me where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold, at James Lott Jr. and all social media platforms. I mean, I'm all over the place. I made it very simple for you guys, just James Lott Jr. Except I think on Twitter, Jr. spelled out. Everything else is just the JR. It's James Lott Jr. everywhere else. So I guess that's the deal for there. And of course, as I say again, breaking into, use the hashtag breaking into you on all social media platforms too. And so, is somebody in the booth? Is somebody there? Hello? What's going on? Like, oh, okay. I didn't hear any music or anything. I love live television. I love this. And next week, I have a really good guest. He's a young artist named Tommy Swisher. And he's actually a single parent, raising children and trying to sing at the same time.
Wow. That's my resiliency.
Yeah, and he's young. And he's going to be on the show. We're going to talk to him about his life journey. It's going to be very interesting. That's next week. So thank you for watching the show. I'm Genius. This is Breaking Into You, Black Hollywood Live, and we'll see you next time.
Yes.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.